Hi guys, I'm here today with Zac Solt. He is, in my opinion, an expert in a lot of men's health topics of that nature. He specializes in, feeling your best, vital, as a male in particular. He's got a wealth of information about it. He's got a Facebook group which specializes in just that. I highly suggest people join that group. I'll link it below in the video. Anyway, so Zac, you start this Facebook group up specializing in vitality, men's health, things like that. So, what was your motivation for that?
Um, I- if you look around everywhere, you'll notice that men in general, I mean, especially here in America, you may see one fit male for every 10 unfit. Uh, we call them, beta males or men that just aren't, that don't run a family, that don't have good jobs, that don't, aren't successful. So I think that it's an epidemic. I mean, it's probably the largest epidemic. Without healthy, strong men, society doesn't move forward in a positive manner. And I think it's super important. So our focus is really teaching people how to eat properly, and then also, different habits and, as far as behaviors that are in line with, morality and doing the right thing and being a man. So it's kind of all encompassing, and there's a lot of issues out there regarding like erectile dysfunction is something that we help a lot of men with. My wife's actually a naturopathic doctor in practice. She specializes in that specifically. I do a lot of coaching and stuff for people. So, we just want to get the man back, and our testosterone levels for a 30-year-old are as low as what they used to be for a 60-year-old back in the 1900s. So it's definitely an epidemic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It seems that nowadays being a man is promoted as almost being a negative thing, like you're being too masculine. People think of testosterone, anything aggressive, but I'd argue it's just the lack of testosterone with elevated estrogen that's causing these sort of
Yeah.
problems. That's just my opinion. But so what are you noticing nowadays? So you speak to people and you coach people with erectile dysfunction, impotency, things around that. So what's the biggest thing that you're noticing with these people as clients?
I think the main problem is actually our diet, and there's this big push for plant-based diet, eating less meat. There's a like you said, there's kind of a push of demasculinization. Like, they say it's you're being overly masculine if you eat, you eat meat or what have you, and it's kind of a situation where men think that they're supposed to be eating a plant-based diet and they're becoming unhealthy. They're eating lots of seed oils, which are inflammatory. Fructose is another culprit. Fructose is actually more so than any other, has the effect of lowering testosterone almost immediately in lab rats. So they tested the rats that were fed fructose on a daily basis, their testosterone levels were super low, even more so than soy. And fructose is pretty much the sugar they use in all sodas and junk food. So I think a focus around a meat-based diet is super important for testosterone and healthy men, and also just brain function. I mean, the amount of inflammation that comes from all the there's a ton of toxins in plants that aren't really talked about. And, when men come to us, they usually don't know what they don't know. So when you start to tell them these things, it's kind of like, it's eye opening, and they say, wow, I never knew that. And then they start to dig deeper, and then, this whole other world comes open. So.
Yeah, I see. It seems like globally there's a big push towards a plant-based agenda, having all those foods, and it seems like where it was like eating a healthy full diet with fruits and veg, it's like every diet fad now is almost incorporating processed food into it. So you're having like a few years ago, ketogenic dieting was just eating, maybe some nuts, some coconut oil, some meat, a few vegetables here and there. Now it seems to be you go to the keto section of a supermarket or a grocery store, and they've got bars for everything, like every single sort of macronutrient breakdown,
Yeah.
loaded with seed oils, just like you said, and it's not ideal. I'll probably go into that in another video, but what would you say is like a key vitamin or mineral that men need to be concerned about? So I know your wife does blood testing and things like that.
Yeah.
What are you noticing with people with impotency? What are the key vitamins, minerals that are going to help them out?
I think there's 60 to 70 minerals present in human tissue. So if we take a sample of human skin, for example, there's 60 to 7 colloidal minerals that are present in human tissue alone, right? So there is an epidemic of a lack of magnesium. There's an epidemic of a lack of potassium, and even a lot. People basically are getting nothing but salt, because that's what's put in all the food. Most of the food is actually depleted with minerals. So unless it's like a wild caught, wild caught fish, it's probably not going to have a ton of those minerals anyway, because the food, the food that they're feeding these animals has also just kind of been, monocropped like crazy, and they feed them the cheapest possible food that they can. But zinc is super important. We actually have an oyster supplement that, because a lot of people can't tolerate oysters. We eat raw oysters every Friday, and we also take an oyster supplement that has zinc and all the other minerals. Your body is electric, and minerals are what your body uses to transport electricity, to move things around in the body. So without minerals, you can have all the vitamins that you want, but you're not going to be able to transport them around the body. So zinc is super important for testosterone. Also cholesterol. Every hormone in your body, the base molecule for every hormone starts with cholesterol. So if you don't have enough cholesterol in your body, or if you have quote unquote normal cholesterol, you don't have enough cholesterol to make all the hormones that you need. Every hormone, all your steroid hormones, when you get injured, your body needs extra cholesterol to repair. So there is an epidemic of lack of nutrients, and also like we were talking about before, plant-based pushed. I mean, that cholesterol just doesn't exist. Your body can make some cholesterol, but it also needs fat in order to do that. So if you're depriving the body of minerals, you're not getting enough animal-based protein. It's certainly going to be a problem. And a man in their 30s, 20s and 30s, their testosterone levels should be around 1,000 to 1,200. And what we're seeing in practice is most men are coming in, in their 20s with testosterone levels of like 200-300, which is really, really low. So I can give you a link to that oyster supplement if you don't like. But oysters are have the benefit of carrying the most mineral content as well as zinc, and then also, it's been well known for thousands of years that it's an aphrodisiac. It makes, it does boost, sex drive in men and women, not just men. So we do have that supplement, but yeah, just trying to get animal-based foods into your diet, I think, is super important. And, men everywhere need to know this information. If they keep being told that they're going to eat, that eating plants is going to be healthy and they're not, not going to go very well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've checked out your oyster supplement. It seems, in my opinion, as someone who's been in the supplement industry, it seems like a good product, to be honest. The way you formulated it is, I don't know if that's you that's done that, but it seems very specialized and it's a good product. I knew about zinc as well. My stepdad knew about, he's not a nutritionist, he knew about zinc and how it is like good for your hormones and minerals and vitamins and things in it. A lot of these things are so underrated, but they're critical. As you said, they're vital for your health, especially as a male. You need more of the zinc and things to repair your cells, things of that nature. So I wanted to ask as well, is there much link between men's sexual health and mental health? So can you draw any correlations in your research? Are people getting back to you with different feedback? Or
yeah, what we were talking about with cholesterol, the brain, every cell in your body is actually made up of, the minimum amount of cholesterol in a cell would be 30%, okay, all the way up to 70% for brain cells. So your brain cells are 70% cholesterol. If you do the average, that's about 50%, meaning every cell in your body is 50% cholesterol. brain needing more, if you've deprived your body of cholesterol and animal fats and these nutrients, and also kept your LDL is actually your body's ability to move. It's a transport molecule. So by itself, it's not detrimental to health. It doesn't cause heart disease. It's there to help repair damage that's being done. But LDL is super important for moving these nutrients around the body. Inflammation is caused by the backup. Brain inflammation is caused by the backup of not being able to transport the toxins in and out of the body, in and out of the brain. So, a plant-based diet actually pushes you more towards a higher inflammatory state in the brain, which could cause brain fog. One of the, we promote a carnivore-based diet, and one of the first things people say is, after a week or two, is like, man, I can think again. I can, I'm remembering things, or, this and that. And if you look at the studies on statins, which lower cholesterol, one of the side effects that everybody talks about from statins is forgetfulness. Like, I forgot where this is, or, leaving things around and not remembering dates and things. So that's super correlated. I mean, there's definitely, science behind the fact that your body needs animal-based protein, and it needs cholesterol, and it also needs these nutrients. And what we talked about before is the main problem is that these nutrients aren't necessarily present in the food. And when they are, if you're eating a mostly plant-based diet, those nutrients are attached. Plants actually attach anti-nutrients to nutrients as a way of preventing you from eating them. They don't want to be eaten, right? So, they'll attach things that are not good for you, or make it harder for your body to absorb. So our most vital nutrients are easily or most bioavailable in animal form. So eating oysters, or eating, a steak, your body's going to absorb these nutrients much better. Your brain's going to function more properly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You touched on statins a second ago, and I wanted to ask this. So my dad is, I'd say he's a bit younger than 60, that side of 60. He's been recommended recently to start taking statins for his high cholesterol. What would you say? So, say a GP went to you and said the same thing. What would you say to them? Like, Zac, you need to start taking statins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because, my cholesterol, my LDL has been over 400 since I started this way of eating. And that's just, to me, that's not alarming, because the main things you want to look at, LDL by itself is not causative of heart disease. It's basically, it looks like it's causative because it's always there when we go open up the vein and say, hey, your body uses LDL as a repair molecule. The same way it repairs cells using LDL, it repairs damage that's done. So the things that you want to look at, if you look at the studies too, the statins don't improve life expectancy. They don't lower the occurrence of heart attacks. They have all these different problems with them. So it's kind of like, why are we doing this? Yes, it lowers the LDL, but we've never proven that actually makes you live longer. If that is the goal, is to live longer. There's a few markers of blood in the blood that you want to pay attention to when it comes to heart disease, which is basically, the overall factor when it comes to statins, why you would take them. Myeloperoxidase, which is an oxidative byproduct at the level of the macrophage, which is like your walls of your veins. So myeloperoxidase, which they call MPO, your overall inflammatory markers, so like HSCRP, PLA2 is a repair enzyme. So if there's damage being done at the arteries, you can have low LDL, and it doesn't really matter. You're still going to accumulate plaque in your arteries. So checking your inflammatory markers, and then also oxidative LDL. People that are on a high plant-based diet or high sugar diet are going to have a lot more oxidation. Basically, it's glycations. When sugar in the blood actually attaches to that LDL, it causes it to be more sticky. People don't know this, but the human body, you have no more than about a tablespoon of sugar in your entire bloodstream at any given time. So when you eat a meal that's got 20 grams of sugar, and you add this, and you add that, you eat pasta, your body works really hard to get rid of it. It's not like it wants you to have a blood glucose level of 140. It immediately acts to bring that back down to the 80 and 90 where it wants you to be. So The idea that we need to have carbohydrates to function is based on a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just funny when I look through my, well, not, online at different books, like e-books and things. They say, like a basic biology book will say, essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And I'm like, that's not right. That's definitely not right. And it seems to be loads of different books say it. And when I look down like the back of the book or the study or whatever is the article, there's no evidence for it. Not one article will say carbohydrates are essential. Not one. And I find that incredible, really. And often I've got a video coming out soon about it's different pharma industries and how they get involved in the food industry. Like, are there any sort of thoughts you have towards that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's a lot easier to sell sugar than it would, because you can package sugar, you could wrap it up, and it'll last forever. You can mix it with fat and other sugars, or you could fortify it with nutrients and make it appear to be healthy, and you could profit from that. So the problem with a species-specific, species-appropriate diet for humans is that it's not very profitable and it's not mass sellable. Because yes, you could take a cow and you could chop it up into however many cuts of meat and you could sell that, but that's about as far as you can go, right? You know what your limit is, and you can only make so much money. But if I take processed food, I can package that, I can ship it all over the world, it'll last forever. I don't have to worry about it going bad, and I could even put it in an airport and charge 10 times as much for it, just out of convenience, right? So that's kind of the thing. You'll never see species appropriate food mass marketed and packaged, and you're not going to get, you make money, but you're not going to get super rich like Coca-Cola and all these different companies. So I think that's really the reason. And there's a big game being played on us, and it's causing. There's no other species on this planet that has, diabetes, heart disease, and, all these different idiopathic, inflammatory diseases and, autoimmune diseases, right? Except for cats and dogs and maybe some farm animals. But the reason is because we've decided what they were going to eat, right? We've given them an inappropriate diet, and that they're also getting sick. So, it's all profit. I think it's just about money, and it's sad.
Yeah, I agree with myself. I was doing some research quite a few years ago, and it's basically around food production. So something like, I think it was about 60,000 products are put to market each year, and they're processed foods, or something in a packet in, not even like fruit or veg, and you think, that's that many foods. Like, all those foods will wreak havoc on your system. And it seems like, if I look through the supermarket nowadays, you're looking at maybe 95% of it being in a packet, or it's even the foods that aren't in a packet, they're at least in many countries, they're sprayed with loads of pesticides and herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, the lot. I want to ask as well, what are your thoughts towards some vegans say to me, I notice there's a big push for meat industry and dairy and eggs, poultry. But we're seeing recently, at least, there's a recent very famous person pop up, and they've bought a load of land basically in the state. So would you like to elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what your thoughts are on that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the profit thing. I mean, that guy's been one of the richest guys in the world for a long time, and what's the next step for him? And if you got $1 billion, and you're bored, you could do a lot of damage. And I think that's really what we're seeing is, he's not innovating anything, so he wants to control things, and that's kind of the next step for somebody who doesn't have any real love or creativity for humankind. But yeah, I mean, he kind of sees that the next step is to profit from food and control food. I mean, if you control the food of a population, I mean, you control everything. If you want one of the, I was in the military. One of the ways that, our military works when we go into like Iraq, for example, is cut off food supplies and, cut off water supplies, so that, it's really easy to want to lay down your weapons when you're starving and you're hungry and your family's starving, right? I would say, yeah, here you go, take over my country. I want to lay down my weapon. And we've done that in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's one of the things that we did. So, I think if he wants to control the food supply so that he can control what we do, which is, make money.
Yeah, touching on what you just said, about being in the military sort of thing. So, what was your diet like back then? Was it similar to what it is now, or what did you see when you go in the canteen?
Yeah, up until about a year ago, I was standard American diet. I was eating seed. I mean, I kind of knew what was unhealthy, but I was doing it anyway. And I think it took a few different health problems to pop up for me to say, okay, I need to change. I also had an addiction to drugs and drinking and stuff like that. So, which I've been able to completely give up now, which is, the main reason why I wanted to start this diet is to eliminate addiction to whether it's sugar or anything else. And now my diet is to sustain my health. But when I was in the Army, they don't feed us proper foods. It's a lot of carbohydrates, and they don't really, they probably just they sell whoever they buy the food for the military from whoever's going to sell it to them the cheapest, and that's kind of the way it looks when you're in there. So
yeah, it's incredible that that these people on the front line, and they're trying to sort of defend the country and fight wars, and they're giving them slop basically. It's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. I'd be frustrated if I was in that position. I'd be like, hand me the eggs, hand me the steak.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look too, I mean, the military is not in the best shape, and our military is not in the best shape it's ever been. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of people are not making it into the military because of different things. So a little short story: when I went in, I was 18, and my blood pressure was 2 points too high when I was going to enter into the Army. And they were like, "Well, just have a seat and relax and calm down. We just needed to get those 2 points lower." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking back, I'm like, my blood pressure has been high since I was 18, right? Not super high, but high enough to where, we know that it could cause damage, especially long term. So my blood pressure now is always normal or even low. And I think to myself, this whole time that I was eating, going through my life in these last 10, 15 years, it was causing damage. And I've actually had coronary calcium scans done. And for sure, I've always been fit and in shape and in the gym, but I actually have, a level of heart disease and calcium in my arteries. And that comes from this lifestyle, in the last however many years before I was up on a proper human diet. And then I think to myself, how many people are doing this damage that are still in shape, that look good and think that they're doing the right things because they're going to the gym, are actually doing damage and not aware of it. It's very, so.
We always talk about that in the Facebook group. It's the amount of, part of the reason why I started all these videos on YouTube is that one of my idols, Cedric McMillan, he's a bodybuilder who was in the Army. He died about 6 months ago, and that was quite a shock for me. He's someone that I was very fond of. Like, I met him. He's a really good bloke. He stood for good things, and what it is people are leading these lifestyles and thinking, I can eat a donut, eat this. Yeah, I don't really believe so much in moderation. I think you have it and you will suffer for it, whether that be a short-term suffering or a long-term. Eventually something's gonna kick. That's what I think towards it. But before I sort of wrap up this interview, is there anything you wanted to mention about, the reason why I brought you on today is like the men's sexual health? Like, what key guidance would you give to people watching this video?
Yeah, it's making sure you get proper nutrients and eat a proper diet. A lot of men will see other men online that look good or look healthy, and they'll say, "Hey, I want to get there," but they want the quick fix, and there is no quick fix. It's something you have to do every single day. You have to work at it, and it's not going to come easy. You're going to have to give up things that, you know, are you're probably super attached to, but, you know, the goal is health. Like we all want to look good, and we all want to like have, you know, be muscular and, you know, be attractive to women and so forth. But I mean, the real goal should be health. I mean, if you're not healthy, you can be in really good shape. And, you know, if you're not happy with yourself and have that kind of internal meter that tells you how to behave like a man, or how to, you know, how to be good to the people around you, then it doesn't really matter. You know, like we also have an epidemic of that. There's a lot of like narcissistic behavior, and a lot of, you know, like, you know, people online just are quick to want to like put everybody else down and not listen. And I think that that's important. I mean, we have to act it takes a village. We have to act as a tribe, and have to be able to, you know, bring each other up. And we just don't see that anymore. You know, it's just a lot of tearing down, and, you know, the main focus should be health. And if you don't have that, you really, all the other things don't really matter.
Yeah. So touching on, you know, the idea of being part of a tribe, a village, community. Can you just outline how people can contact you, what your Facebook group is, you know, any coaching services, consultations you offer?
Yeah, I'll send you the links to everything. But Carnivore, Harder, Happier, Healthier is our Facebook group. You're in there. You're one of the moderators. You know, so it's just a nice community, because it's, you know, it doesn't cost anything, and it's cool to see the stories. The main reason I like it is to see everybody else's story, because I think that it did wonders for me. And then I see somebody list off like 40 things that went away when they started carnivore diet, and it's like, wow, you know, that's huge. I mean, that person's life is probably just like dramatically different, all because they stopped eating, you know, started eating appropriate foods. We have it's also harderhappierhealthier.com. It has a link to our, we have different programs for men's health, especially if you're dealing with erectile dysfunction. Because erectile dysfunction is not erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is actually a vasculature problem. So it usually comes with heart disease and things like that, which are related to some of the stuff that we talked about. So there's programs on there to help you kind of get back on track and to reverse that, because, you know, taking a pill may work, but, you know, you're just covering up something that's just going to come back and bite you harder later on. And, you know, it's nice to be able to perform when it's ready to go without having to worry about stuff like that, right? And then I'll send you a link to my wife's Instagram is at Dr. Solt, and mine is at Carnivore Z. I'll send you all those. You can put them in the notes there. But,
sure, cheers.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your insights. I'm so glad we had this chat. It might be useful to some of my viewers. And I hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely, man, for sure. We'll do it again.
Cheers.